Our national debt is certainly unsustainable, and I think that's indisputable, but it's not unfixable if we don't change course, and soon. We won't just be trying to stave off a recession. We will have a full-blown sovereign debt crisis on our hands that will threaten not only our economy and our national security, but our way of life and America's leadership in the world. This legislation is just a first step. It's an important step, but it's just a first step toward getting our fiscal house in order and a good faith effort to bring the president to the negotiating table, where he's been as vice president and where he was when he was senator. This proposal will reduce deficit spending and save taxpayers $4.8 trillion over 10 years, $1 trillion over the next year. This legislation would require Washington, us, I would suggest over time, we've all contributed to this. And I will continue to say that because I believe that to be true. And by the way, this isn't the $31 trillion and the projections, this unsustainable debt, this isn't a Republican problem or a Democrat problem. It is a mathematical reality that we have to deal with. And all we're asking of our colleagues and the president is do what the American people are doing all across the country, namely because of the inflation and their shrinking paychecks and the rise in the cost of everything, the cost of living crisis. What are the American people doing? Suffering a great deal. And they're having to tighten their belts, reevaluate their spending, and survive. What are we doing? Just business as usual here in the people's capital. First, this legislation would limit federal spending by reining in and right-sizing the federal bureaucracy. This proposal will bring FY24 discretionary spending levels to where they were just 4 months ago. 4 months ago. Going forward, we'll cap discretionary budget at 1% annual growth over the next 10 years. Pray to God it works to relieve the current inflationary pressures on working families and reduce wasteful Washington spending to the tune of over $3 trillion. Second, this legislation would save taxpayer dollars by reversing some of the Democrats' reckless spending items. Here are just a few. There are more, but these are the ones that we've chosen to put forward. Reclaiming tens of billions of dollars in unspent COVID from the partisan COVID bill that spent $2 trillion with the trillion of COVID relief still on the table. That's what ignited this inflationary firestorm, and states and local governments can't even creatively think of ways to spend this money, and we're just saying, let's claw this back. Time to tap the brakes on Washington spending. Defunding the president's army of 87,000 IRS agents, repealing the Green New Deal special interest tax breaks for the largest green energy corporations, and rescinding President Biden's unconstitutional student loan bailout. Thirdly, this proposal will grow the economy by returning to pro-growth, pro-work, pro-energy policies that will unleash American prosperity once again. It stops the assault on U.S. energy production and restores American energy dominance. That's good for consumers, it's good for the climate, it's good for our nation, and it is the lifeblood of our economy if we are to come out of this nosedive into a recession. Our proposal will prevent trapping people, as my friend Gwen Moore said, and she'll disagree with me, People are trapped, and by paying people more to stay home, which at one point, we were just throwing a bunch of money at a problem that we were trying to solve that was unprecedented. Then we knew better, and we warned our colleagues, don't pay people more to stay home. And for heaven's sakes, don't relax the work requirements. It's not good for the people. It traps them in a cycle of poverty and dependence, and it will never have a labor shortage. And we've already touched on the 3 million people prior to COVID that we are below the labor. Biden's unprecedented barrage of regulations, that's a major drag on the economy and our recovery. It's an unbearable burden for small businesses, especially in rural America. And it will, like taxes, lower wages, and it will increase the cost of goods for working families. By the way, President Biden and his administration is on track now to double the Obama White House in the cost and the total burden, compliance included, paperwork included, of President Obama. And it's 8 times more President Trump. Lastly, Republicans recognize it is responsible, in fact, to raise the debt ceiling. We agree. But it would be irresponsible to do so without meaningful fiscal reforms. In fact, it would be nothing short of negligence. Mr. Chairman, let's be clear. We should pay our creditors and protect the good faith and credit of the United States. But we cannot give a blank check to any politician, Republican or Democrat, to continue to bankrupt this country. And that's what's happening. Republicans have put forth a plan worthy of the people we serve. Now, I'm asking all of us to put aside our political pettiness or small-mindedness and rise to meet this, the greatest 21st century challenge, in my opinion, before it's too late. If we fail to meet this moment, we risk being the first generation in history to leave our children with a weaker America, fewer opportunities, and a